I would like to begin with 1 minute of silence to scan where you're at, where your attention is, and to get centered, grounded, and bubbled. Okay, begin.
My grounding cord is green.
Mine's gold. Dark purple.
Yellow.
Green.
Thank you. This space is about child making. And I'm here in this space, and I've come to this research because I'm taking another look at the relating and what I'm creating. And there's a lot that works for me. There's a lot in my relating that is amazing. I have a lot of fun. I'm really playful. I source a lot of creativity and laughter. And I don't know what archetypal relating is. I have an idea, and it feels somewhat like a fantasy, like this thing that I'll eventually get to. And I also feel that there's such a part of me that's deeply committed to the relating that I already create. And I have a lot of benefit out of what I already create. And as I started to explore this child making, the first thing that came to me was, I don't want to do it. I don't want to look there. I don't want to let go of all of these things that I love about playfulness. And I had all of these stories about what it is. And so this was the open door for my exploration into child making, was first this idea of what is it, and then this really catching this internal resistance. And as I've been exploring this and watching myself and watching the spaces that I'm creating, I'm noticing how so much of it is about my survival. And this is what child making ultimately is about. It's about me feeling okay, me surviving, me turning my partner, turning the people I'm relating with into people whom I feel safe around. And a lot of my relating is about safety. And so this is where I'm beginning with this research is, God, but I really love it. I really love being a child and these playful things, and I don't want to let it go, but is this about my safety? What about this is about play and creation, and what about it is protecting me as a child? And in relating, holding myself in my survival, I'm continually creating something. And so for our space today, I want to start with, what are you trapped in? What kind of relating are you already creating in your life? And what are the consequences? How is it showing up for you? So really taking a look at, how does it go in your relating, and what is it that you're creating right now in partnership, in your relating with other adults?
There's just one thing that I discovered in EHP recently about I'm committed to this idea.
Ethel, would you speak up a little bit more?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
I committed to this idea years and years and years ago that the love that I have in my life is just what I get, and that I don't deserve anything more, or that I can't ask for anything more. And this has had like massive, massive implications for my whole life. It prevents me from making asks for the kind of relating I really want to be having. It allows me to like, really hide from dangerous questions and dangerous offers of intimacy with people, both friends and partners and everything. And I've been really like sitting and being with this old decision over the past few days since I discovered it.
And what is it that you get? Can you explain a little bit of, this is what I get, but what is it?
Yeah, I get, it's like what you're saying, I totally get to remain safe. I never have to do anything dangerous. I can always, it's the perfect justification for settling for a normal type of relating. Because if I don't think that I deserve something more, then why would I ever ask for what it is I really want? And so it totally keeps me safe. And it also gives me like perfect fuel for taking revenge on people. Like the shadow purpose of this is I have to settle, and I can resent the people for not just giving me more without asking for it.
And what are you settling for? Like how does it go with the other person? I hear it's safe, you're settling, but
Yeah, like the current person that I'm seeing, I'm not asking for any other type of commitment than what is already existing, which is not really a commitment at all. I get to settle for being secondary in someone's life and in partnership. I get to become. I allow myself to be not important and not a priority in people's lives, and it's a real commitment to being small in every way that I can in a relationship. And I've been feeling the pain of it for like a few years now, but like just very recently, the past few days, I've seen the old decision, and yeah, it's really painful to see how widespread this is. It's like an infection in my body's.
thank you, Ethel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have something, Dolly? Yes and no. I'm not sure. I'm trying to trace what this sadness is about. I think I'm sad because somehow I just get it. Also, something similar of my relating with Meredith is so fun, so safe, and I feel sad about the deadness that can be there because of that, and I'm not sure. I all I know is that something opens in me even just to sit for this Worktalk, and then there's like a whole mix of I don't know, mind mumbo jumbo about like but our relating is also transformational. I don't know. I somehow feel sad about whatever parts of it are dead and are just committed to a lot of safety. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
And when you're saying this thing of There are a lot of the parts that are transformational. It's not to say that what we're creating is all, like, it's not bad, it's not dead, but there are traps. There are traps that in the relating that is holding it back from becoming something else. So this is not to say that everything is a problem.
I guess the big necessity I bring to this work talk is wanting to know more about the line between what is really child making or what is really allowing my partner to be sourcing archearchy or sourcing archetypal relating and being on her team about that, and then where the line comes into this thing of giving feedback in a way that crushes intimacy. And yeah, it's almost at the point where I'm afraid to give Meredith feedback because of how unclear it is for me of whether I'm really being on her team, trying to empower her, or whether it's something else, some kind of parent contamination. And so yeah, that's my big necessity.
And what have you been experimenting with about that lately, or what's your current work with that?
The current pretty long running experiment is to try to not give feedback. Is to really just not my job. And I think I've gone around the learning spiral a little bit around that, like compared to 6 months ago, it's like totally so much I can just not even be whatever, not care, like whatever. I don't even say not get hooked by it because I don't even think these behaviors are hooks. It's just like I don't hook myself on just random things. And then there's other parts of like, yeah, the whole saga of Meredith wanting to commit to holding space for a work talk, and then basically just being totally hands off of, okay, she's not holding a work talk, she seems to want to hold a work talk. I don't know what's up with that. And wondering how that slips into, do I just not care? Yeah.
Because you wouldn't be giving encouragement or discouragement.
Yeah, or saying like, what's going on that you have not held a work talk? So, something like this. And I don't think I said that very often. I think I like hardly, yeah, I think it was more something where Meredith might come to me with like, oh, whatever, I don't feel like doing this work talk, and I kind of just don't say, well, what's up with that, because I don't want to apply pressure.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's what's alive with me too. Similar is these edges where is it how I see myself mostly like turning other people into children is not bringing clarity, not saying what I notice, not asking, what's up with this thing I think I see or that I'm seeing, and this, it comes from a fear of rocking the boat, and that then the person would jump out of the boat because there's too much pressure in the boat, and the boat's our relational space. And then there's also, it goes another way where then I start to feel fear that I'm not rocking the boat enough, and then the relational space isn't an adventure. And then also fear, especially when I go into like what seems to be more of a victim or more of a sadness territory, that I'm using my sadness to manipulate. And this question of like, am I manipulating is one that's freaking me out a lot lately. and the space I just had with Ethna went into that. This fear that I would be manipulating, or that I would be perceived as manipulating if I were to just do what comes to me to do, say what comes to me to say. Yeah, I'm just noticing so many edges that I keep myself away from in this kind of safety making thing.
Because what happens when you get to the edge? Like if you are manipulating?
Yeah, again, that there would be this way of, the person wanting to jump out of the boat, jump out of the relational space with me, and it's like, and so I keep myself and them safe, and we're in this nice little cozy boat where not a lot of messiness happens, that it doesn't get like crazy, and it's kind of like I make it up to me to keep this perfect balance of still a sense of adventure, but not too much adventure that we think we're going to die, or anyone thinks they're going to die. And it's really, yeah, there's a real cost to it. There's a cost that I feel sad about, and I can't even be sure what it is, because I stay out of that territory.
And am I getting it right that the adventure is kind of this like transformational growth within the relating? Is that the adventure? Like the feedback, the navigating together, or what is it that makes the relating the adventure?
Like how it could be, and again, I'm scared of this fantasy making too, where it could be that if I bring more of what I have, this clarity, these questions, this noticing, like that, I could be met in that. I could. What if I'm met in that?
And what is that?
In this like space of adventure where me noticing what I notice, me saying what I have to say, doesn't cause this or create the consequence of this person being like, fuck off, or back off, or don't look at me, or go away, or who the fuck do you think you are, or you're manipulating me. And it's like I'm not being so audacious yet that I would bring that kind of sharper, bigger version of myself in case it's not how that goes.
So there's a sense of like the child making is the protecting from the space being too dangerous so the person doesn't leave.
Yeah.
And I'm also hearing this thing about the adventure. What is the adventure in relating? Is the adventure in, like Dawa, you're saying about giving feedback, sounds quite different than the feedback being the adventure, is what I'm wondering about.
Can you ask the question again in a different way?
This is a question for all of us, is what is the adventure in relating?
Something I get is something where what it's not. What it's not is this kind of going head to head and kind of pushing or pulling against each other so that adventure's happening. And it's this kind of move into like being shoulder to shoulder, out on my edge, out on each of ours edge, and going into the unknown together. And having a sense of orienting toward, orienting toward archiarchy and being on each other's team and not going back into this like you're against me thing. Like you know, it's so often that I see that there's this way of turning against each other and starting finger pointing and blaming, and there's also this way of turning away from each other, like, oh, being with you is too intense when I'm really real with you and myself. That it can kind of go these I mean, 3 different ways.
Thank you, Nicole.
I had a couple of things. I mean, one about the adventure, just it's something kind of obvious, but that there are so many doorways that are possible in terms of a move or a place to go next or something to do next, and some doorways are only available with 2 people, 2 or more people. Like some doorways are available with just 1 person, but I think there's a huge range of stuff that opens up that's only available with two or more people. And part of the adventure, I think, can be navigating into and out of those doorways together. And I think there's just there can be upper world doorways and underworld doorways. And so I think the underworld doorways are basic, are kind of like ordinary relationship 101. And then a lot of the other doors, like different types of collaboration, like anything from wildly archetypal to just subtly shifting a middle world activity with like a dash of bright principles. So I think that happened a lot during the, what do you call it, the intimacy, offers for intimacy week, where there wasn't so much grand stuff, but there was some grand moves, but there was a lot of small, subtle stuff that would change going on a walk with someone, or that would shift eating a piece of cheese or something like that into a moment that is memorable because of the way that it feeds everyone who's there. Okay, so I'd be interested in also talking about what the ingredients are, like what the ingredients are that make the doorway not underworld, not logistical, but really upper world. The other thing that I was noticing, and I'm almost on the other side of what Nicole is talking about, is I'm just coming out of this a relationship that seemed like one of the defining characteristics of the relating for maybe a while is that both me and the other person were extremely protected, meaning that was the way we related, was almost as defended or protected. And so, I mean, in a way, it's like, forget feedback. Like that's not even a conversation. Forget the other person's clarity about what's going on, because the clarity could be so contaminated with this or that or this or that. So it's like, at that point, I guess part of my necessity is, how do I do something else with a partner? How do I not go there again? And in some ways, even the questions about child making or not child making are like, feel too advanced for me, like, because I'm like Nicole was talking about, like, well, I want to deliver my clarity and this and that, but it's like, yeah, I think my partner had the same thing and might have been child making all the time with that clarity. Might have been creating a situation where, like, the only way, and just, oh gosh. So, and I know it's someone else going through this now, but there's something where if there's a lot of that child making happening in a relating space, then both people are doing it. So one person is child making, one person is being made a child. Both are active positions, active roles. And so if one of those switches, there's a harmony. There's harmony in child making and being child made. It's like, maybe it's ordinary or whatever, but it's very known. So when one person starts to move out of that position, first of all, it's going to be inelegant. That's what I think. I think it's not going to be pretty. I don't think it's going to be. because their shape has not changed yet. And I totally experienced this. Like my shape had not fully changed out of that yet. So it wasn't pretty. And then if there's already a foundation in the relating space of protectedness or defendedness, one of my pains is like there could be no conversation. So there could be no conversation about I'm doing this experiment, I'm trying this now, I need to do this for my growth, because there could be no conversation where, at least for me, I could possibly hope for the other person to understand it and get it. Like what I might get back is something like, your gremlin can do whatever experiments it wants. I don't buy it. And so there's something for me where I noticed a little bit of like somehow I would be alone navigating this, trying something new. And so, yeah.
Because you're in a dynamic, you're saying, because there's harmony in this dynamic, if you're trying to step out, then you're alone.
Yes, because you bust the harmony. Like the harmony gets busted because it's either someone who's no longer willing to be made a child and is doing that inelegantly because they've never done it before, or the other way around. Someone is no longer willing to be mom or dad, and the other person's still trying to get that from them, and so the tricks don't work anymore, and so then there's a totally different kind of freak out. But I think it's the same sort of disharmony. So like there's a little, maybe there would be a period of even enmity or something, unless a lot of things, unless both people decide we're doing this evolutionary thing at the same time, unless there's, just unless.
What does enmity mean?
It's like the opposite of friendly, enemy happening.
Okay.
Yeah, between two people.
And so with the child making and the child, it's not about being enemies.
I don't know.
But stepping outside of it, it feels like, okay, there's a process of becoming an enemy.
Yeah, I mean, if one person is changing and the other person really wants things to stay the same, then there would be some kind of friction, I guess. It doesn't necessarily mean enmity, but in the worst case scenario, maybe it would.
Yeah, how do you get out? You know you're doing it. You know you're child making. You're watching this dynamic, and then what? And then how do you get out? And what will really happen in the relating? What happens when the child making is done? What's left?
Mm-hmm. I'm under the impression that you and Dawe are also navigating this, but I could be wrong. But I have my story. It's you navigating this, and somehow it's working. So how are you doing it? What are you discovering that's working? Also, I want to hear from either of you, if my story is at all accurate.
I think this fuzzy line that Dawe was talking about is like the edges of what is child making. I wonder about, because in our relating, there's a lot of play. There's a ton of silliness, there's a lot of play, and in that there's a lot of creation. It's really a type of play. And then there's times where like that feels like a distinct thing. And it's like, okay, there's some childish here, but am I making Dawe into a child to meet my survival needs? It doesn't quite fit on that. And then there are these things that I do. And Nicole, you were talking about some kind of action of noticing the child making, and it's even before then. It's the thought. It's the thing of assuming that, he's so cute, he needs my help. A lot of mine start with this thing. Like, oh, you can't do that. And then the energy of child making comes in. And so it's not, what I'm getting is it's not necessarily all about the action and what I'm saying, but the belief beforehand.
Wait, is it like in a way I hear you saying it comes in with the action, but my sense is that it first came in with the attitude. Like this kind of, this awe, isn't it cute thing is before the action, and then the action kind of perpetuates the child making. But I would say that the attitude still of, oh, isn't he cute, is already child making.
That's what
Let me be more clear.
Yeah, okay.
I think the action does not have to be child making. I think you could do two things and they could be child making or not.
Yeah.
But it is this attitude beforehand. If I'm coming and making breakfast with, oh, you can't make breakfast for yourself because you never get up on time and da da da, then it's child making. If I'm making breakfast because I want to make breakfast and I want to share that, it's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is it's not necessarily the action. It can be, but it's the thing beforehand.
Yeah. And this, like, I'm really hearing you describe rescuing, where there's this kind of lack of respect for who I'm relating to, and I have the answer. I come to their rescue by, lighting the fire, by cooking the breakfast, by noticing things that they can't notice for themselves. And there's this kind of superior parent ego state thing. And I think this is where it can turn into parent-child with lots of clarity, and it's kind of a clarity where maybe there's a fourth move where I was talking about this and this and this, where there's like a superiority move. Like I'm being your parent because you don't know how to do this yet, and you need, and it's also this like version of parenting that's not space holding. And I know it so well from having been a parent myself, because there could be a real difference when I was with my actual child and not making them a child, where I was relating with a child as a being who was emerging into competence, and I wasn't doing things for them. I was when they actually couldn't do them themselves. But when it came to things like, like you got to learn to stand on your own 2 feet. It's such a metaphor. This actually happens with children. They're holding onto the furniture and then they're letting go and they're like, and they fall on their butt. And instead of me being like, come on, you can do it, I'd be just holding the space, watching them figure it out, and not saving them, not fixing them, not doing this praise or, oh, you didn't do it, try again. Or this like, yay, you did it, yay, yay, yay. Like, that stuff just sickened me. And it comes into play sometimes in a more adult looking way.
Yeah, I think it can be really, really subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get the sense there are markers. There are energetic markers that I have of knowing when I'm doing it. And this is also part of my research. And I wanted to ask Dawi, was there anything that you wanted to add
Yeah.
to this?
One thing comes to mind, which is I remember a study group call where Clinton said to some man who had a new partner, and he said, "You have no clue what you are sitting next to," and it seemed like sort of one of these like sounds good, sort of vague lines to somebody like you have no clue about the brilliance of the woman you're sitting next to, and I'm getting it more and more, and I think what's working in navigating this potential child-making, blocking intimacy in my relationship with Meredith has been shifting from what I would call defensive relating to expansive relating. So just like the map from of defensive learning, where I only add on things according to the knowledge continent that I have, versus allowing like there to be learning that I don't understand how to connect to my existing knowledge continent. It's the same thing with Meredith, where where my box is all about kind of king of my world. I'm superior. I've got it all figured out, and I do. I have a ton of competence in a variety of things. And at the beginning of being friends with Meredith, and questioning whether romantic relating would work, I was relating from this very defensive place. It's like, where's her clarity? Where's her this? Where's her that? Blah, 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 blah. And it's just trying to measure and compare her with my knowledge, with my competency continent. And then some kind of shift happened where I was able to suspend that enough to just start to realize, my gosh, even in the like field I am in, which is holding space for transformation, Meredith has skills that are far beyond like they are so far away from my knowledge content, I couldn't even identify them as skills. I just could not. I had this story. Meredith is a second grade school teacher. She's just happy and goofy, loves kids, whatever, not serious enough to hold certain kinds of space. And like clearly her skills as being able to scan a space of 20 children and see who's in the space and who's not in the space would be a core trainer skill. And so I'm not sure how it happened, but I just started to be able to see, wow, there is that type of skill that she has competency in. And again, it's not this thing where I then like measure myself and make myself child or parent to her, but it's just like I can see the uniqueness or the brilliance of her. So it's like, she becomes an apple, I become an orange. And so this type of thing has become unconsciously competent enough where when there is this desire to compare, I can sort of see enough that's like, comparison does not make sense. We're two different islands here.
Mm-hmm. It would be amazing, but it sounds like maybe not possible if you were able to reverse engineer how you made that shift in relating.
One of the great experiments, I think, was when we went swimming this summer. So there's this lake in California, and before swimming that time, I cannot tell you the last time I went swimming. Possibly more than 5 years ago. And Meredith was like, let's swim to that island. And it wasn't very far away. It was like maybe 200 feet, so like 60, 70 meters. And it's not like I would have drowned, but I was trying to swim, and I don't swim very fast. And so there was a moment where Meredith literally just let me hold on to her and catch my breath, and then she started swimming with me, and it was just such a clear moment of really being out of my depth, of having to swim, and I don't know, I don't have more to say about it than just really somehow ending up in this space where I'm totally incompetent, Meredith is totally competent, and then having a ton of fun. Like, it was just a real box-shattering moment where I was like, I don't like swimming, and I was bad at it, but I still had a lot of fun doing it.
And did you go into like child ego state about it, or are you saying that you could be there and it wasn't child and parent?
I was probably in some amount of child about it, and this was just one instance of blowing up my whole defensive relating thing.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I got that scent, I could start scanning for other things. It was a real loosening of my box in terms of relating to a partner. And then in terms of being able to scan for skills that Meredith has that I don't have, and getting that value, which I even hesitate to say because it's not even about like whether I get value out of it, but it loosened my box enough where it's like that's the first step. Is really becoming or consciously incompetent.
So when you were,
Consciously incompetent at seeing how I cannot see other parts of my partner.
yeah. And so this is about going from this more defensive way of relating. And what were you defending against? And then what weren't you defending against?
I was defending against seeing any skills as valuable skills if I did not have competence in it.
Huh. So like a superiority thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Even in that moment, I'm thinking back to it, and there wasn't a flavor of like, oh, you poor thing, let me save you. It wasn't, at least on my end, it wasn't like, oh, I'll rescue you, but it was kind of like, do you want to hold on to my shoulders and I'll swim? And so I'm really interested in this flavor that you're talking about, or this scent of like, yeah, when you catch the scent of something, then you can bring more awareness to. And so I want to catch the scent right now. And so with this next space, we'll start with partners. I think we can make it work with partners. So we'll get with in 2 partnerships and move the chairs, and then I'll tell you what the exercise will be.
Okay. You want me
So,
to partner?
We'll work
Nicole?
right there.
Yeah.
I'll just push this.
Cool.
Meredith, how long is this going to take? I'm just trying to know how much I'm
12 minutes.
12 minutes total.
Yep.
Okay. Let me get this chair.
Okay.
So child making is about making the other person less threatening, about making it safe for you. And with this practice, one person will be child making. And you'll be really coming up with these examples from your real life. And it might help to get started with someone who's really easy to child make, like maybe a younger sibling or friend who always needs your help. And you can scan in your life someone who needs you, who without you they would be lost, or specific things they would be lost in, like, that person for me, like, oh gosh, I can't fix my computer, or the certain competencies that the other person just does not have, and if you were gone, they could not survive as a starting point. And when you're there, really navigating into your relating spaces of what are these things that you do in relating to make the other person a child. The person who's not child making, you're going to be scanning yourself for when you get snapped in. And part of this process is noticing what snaps you into being a child and your end of the equation, how you want to be a child, how being a child serves you. And maybe this person will touch on something like that, or maybe not. So when you get snapped, you can tell the person you're snapped if it's really that apparent, and they can try a different skill. So the other person, you're scanning this, and I'll be scanning for this too. I'll be saying snapped. And then the person who's speaking will switch, try something new. So we'll be going for 5 minutes. So partner A, raise your hand. Okay, partner B, raise your hand. Partner A, you will be the child maker first. And for 5 minutes, you're going to be navigating into how you make the person you're relating with a child.
Navigating is in they actually do it? Or
Yes,
they just
you're
say how they do
going to be,
on purpose.
you're doing it on purpose. You are child making. And I'll ask quickly, will it be helpful for the other person to role play someone you actually do this with?
Probably. I think, yeah.
Yes? Okay. So it will be a role play. You will actually be doing the child making. And the last thing I want you to be scanning for in yourself is this scent. How do you know when you're really landing on, I am child making right now? So this can kind of be something a meta space you're aware of in the back. Okay. Go ahead and get into your roles.
Okay, who am I?
Sure, you don't need
Sun's
need a role play.
Sagan. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am
That
Sagan.
feels right.
So you will have 5 minutes to child make, and then we'll have some feedback and coaching at the end. Okay. Ready and begin.
Hello, Sagan.
Hi, do I call you mom? Hey mom.
How are things going with you?
Oh, I don't
I'm doing a
know.
little
I guess I'm figuring it
There's
out.
2 types of child making that I do.
Yeah, what are you doing?
I don't know. It just seems like I don't know. Life's just
Where
so
are you
hard.
going? Where are you going
You
after
know,
this?
Like I wake up and I'm like,
group house.
why am I still doing this? I go to sleep and
I
I'm
don't
like,
know.
how am I
Or
gonna
I'm
do
going to
anything
Mexico.
different? I guess I'm not.
Yes,
It's just
I'm going to-
unfair. A lot of
Okay.
things are really unfair about this world.
Yeah. And are you talking to anyone about this?
I mean, who
Do
would I talk to?
Do you still
Like,
talk
yeah, I
to
try to
anybody
talk to some
Seattle?
people. They don't listen.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm still in contact with like Jackie and Danny,
Yeah, but I mean,
Kata,
I feel like they don't
Calvin.
get it.
We don't talk a ton,
I feel
but
like they
I'm
don't
still in
really
contact
get
with them.
Did you say Jawan?
I never
They're
knew John
professionals.
much.
Their
No,
job
because
is
we
to
lived.
get.
She moved out right when I moved.
Okay, Nicole, this is
Okay.
working. You're doing this caring thing, the inquiring. Try something else.
Okay.
How do you feel?
Yeah, they're
compared
professionals.
to back when we were at
Doesn't
Conference?
matter. They don't get it.
Like right now.
Yeah,
Where-
like you now
Where
compared to
else are you
like.
gonna be able
But
to
how do you
try,
feel about
like,
yourself from back when you were in
try having a
Conference?
team?
I mean, it feels like kind of
I
apples
just
and
feel like you don't
oranges.
listen either.
That's
I'm just trying to tell you
not
it's
totally
hard,
apples and
and then
oranges,
you
but
don't.
there's been a lot of
You
ways
try to
that
tell
I've
me you get
changed
a
and
team, you have a team,
grown.
and then I tell you
and
they don't listen, and then you say,
they're
well,
not
your
the same
team's
as I
supposed to.
was.
Like, what?
And I think that's really
I don't know
cool.
what I'm supposed to say.
How have you changed?
I
You
quit
know
my
what
job.
you're supposed to say
It's a pretty big one.
That's cool.
when I kind of pressure
That is
you
very
into using this team
Okay,
that you have,
I feel snapped.
and you end up feeling like I
And then
don't
we
understand.
keep going.
So you're doing this
Yeah.
thing about like, okay, like kind of prove it.
No.
No. Basically, just switch the
There's-
strategy and
there's
try
something
again,
I can
whatever it
do. There's
was.
something I can do that would
Okay,
work
so
better
once
for you.
once you snap, then switch it.
Yeah. So
And
try.
find a different flavor.
Yeah, find a different flavor.
I don't know what
Okay.
to do. Is this working for you? Dead and asking.
You
Are
want
there
those
other things I can
again?
try?
I mean, this is exactly how
Damn
it
it.
went.
Yeah, I
This is
do.
exactly how it went. And
I
it
do order
ended
the
up-
stewards with you.
And
I just
you know,
love
in a way,
those,
I'm just like,
Okay.
yeah, I'm
Man,
trying
those hot
so
dog
hard to be
hamburgers,
your empowered.
Sorry, not hot dog hamburger, gas station hamburgers.
And
You didn't
this
have
is
one
what I
last
got
time.
was like, there's
No, I
nothing
didn't. I
you
had
can
some
do.
chili.
Mm.
You had chili, they have chili
They
there.
do have chili.
And then this, like,
Okay, yeah.
So now you're even more egregious. You're kind of doing this like leading her to you
yeah, and
thing,
it's really
like,
parental.
making
It's like-
yourself in a way,
Still trying to
and
parent.
like really like
and I'm calling it
try it
sensible.
something that's
And it
Uh,
totally still
As an option.
galvanizes
Okay.
him in this like,
mm,
I got nothing, I got no one, you, like it, yeah,
I got nothing. Yeah.
yeah, and you don't understand me, and you just make it worse,
how come you sleep so much at night?
yeah.
I don't actually sleep all that
Okay, I
much.
can keep going then with that.
I think I
How's
sleep
it
like a
going?
normal amount.
Is it still
8-9
working?
hours a night.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's,
Yeah.
but I also, I notice how I'm
Sometimes I
trying
take a nap
not
all
to
the
child
time.
make,
okay.
and it's
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
and it works to make him a child still.
Okay, keep going. Really go into the big, like, egregious. Like,
I guess I'm wondering.
yeah, this is the space to really get how it would go.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I don't know what you can do for me.
I'm not sure.
Probably nothing at this point.
What's the
Yeah.
like, most? Because you're
I
making
mean,
me
I
into a
just feel like I've been
child
so
in this
screwed
interaction.
over
What's the
so
most
many
like
times.
what is the thing that you could
And
say
then it's
that
like
would
there's
scam
this
me? Like,
team I
do a
have,
scan of me.
and they're screwing me
And
over
what,
too.
what's the thing that you could say
They're trying
in
to
this
tell me
conversation
that
would
like
just
what
make
I'm
me
saying
there?
doesn't make sense.
And see how it would go.
Fuck them. Whatever. Anyway, it's good to talk to you. I'm gonna go. I don't know if that's how it will go.
How come
It's
how
like
come
feels
you
so
never
awful.
wanted
Have
to
one-
spark
And
for the
you know,
spark?
here's me as like the educated space holder who's like, if we could just pass you a
I
red
was actually
cloth
really
now,
excited
and you
for
could
your
start
record, but
feeling the
you
anger
just
and the
dropped
other
Go
other
into that.
culture that
Go.
I wouldn't
I
think
wrote
out,
the spark that I said I was going
then
to
it
write.
could work.
Were you going to write another one?
Yeah, you have all the
about
answers.
King making?
Yeah.
Yeah, go with that.
Uh,
Yeah.
I did, but I changed my mind.
Do you want to try that? So you can
Because
do
I
that,
like the one
try
I wrote.
like
Okay.
letting yourself
Okay,
feel
just so you
angry.
communicated to anyone.
And look like a crazy person,
Yeah,
like I already
totally.
do.
Yeah.
I'm snapped.
Yeah. I don't think that'll help me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
did not
it's so
communicate
extreme
it.
to do
I
this.
think I told someone.
I don't
I
think
told
that'll help
someone
me.
verbally, like Ben or something. But
Yeah, and then I do
Did not
I'm
announce
totally
it to the
into
group.
this. Like that's the only
Okay.
thing that will work for him. That will save him. That will help him
I'm
grow
gonna
up.
switch.
Okay, time.
What does he usually say?
Go ahead.
I've never done that
Okay.
Yeah.
because I think this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't want her.
Gosh, you have to be so careful. Sorry.
I propose I want to give 2 minutes of feedback and coaching to the person. Partner B, you'll give feedback and coaching to partner A. But I propose that we open up the circle and give it to the whole group.
okay.
Any resistance to that?
Well, one, which is, I'd love to not just have it be feedback and coaching, like I'd love to also just share. Could we just have it be sharing?
Yes. Yeah, what worked?
Discoveries.
Yeah. Discoveries, feedback. How did you make child make?
What I discovered is that like all my efforts to be a space holder instead of a rescuer, it went how it goes with my adult son. Like it's almost like Devin knew exactly what he would say, and he just it's like it's so predictable, and it's so what I keep creating as I desperately try to be the good mother who's not mothering, who's holding space, and.
How is that? How are you creating that?
By really secretly wanting to save him and rescue him, and thinking that I know what he would need for that to happen. He would need Rage Club. He would need to go into his actual feelings. He would need to learn to differentiate his feelings from emotions. He would need to feel all the feelings that are stuffed away inside him.
So it's a secret intent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
What else worked?
What came up for me is like how I have a very high child ego state contamination. I'm pretty sure. Haven't done don't know what the exact number is, but like how much my box is just like so craving. Like it was so easy to get snapped in to being a child, and how throughout the course of this, as we just this work talk, I realized how much I invite someone to child make onto me, and how active of a role that really is.
How?
How did you invite it?
Yeah, like it was like when Dawe asked me, like it was so innocuous, like, do you want to go to Stewart's? And I was just like, yeah, let's go, let's totally go to Stewart's. And it was, what kind of like I picked up in that single interaction was like my dignity was totally missing. And I was like, yeah, I'll serve you my dignity on a platter, because maybe I don't actually want to go to Stewart's, so I'll serve you my dignity on a platter to do something fun, or to have your approval, or to, to be childlike in that. And so I got like, it didn't feel good being consciously aware of that.
What kind of good? Not good.
Did it not feel?
Did it? What did it? Yeah.
Yeah, it made me sad and it made me angry. Because like a couple of these were really, really innocuous kind of conversations, or that I would read as innocuous. And I'm like, fuck, it's even that. Even in those smallest interactions, it's not just like the big ways that I've encountered that make myself small or make myself into a child is even in these like really small innocuous interactions.
How did you know you were doing it in this moment?
There's something that like in my solar plexus that there was this kind of like desperation that opened up of like, oh my god, Dawei's invited me to go to Stewart's. Dawei wants to have fun with me. Dawei's my friend. Yes! A friend wants to do something with me. Let's go! And then another thing Dawei said, like asked me a very direct question about a way that I had not been in integrity, and it was like, oh my god, Dawei's angry at me. My parent is angry at me. I gotta fix this. I gotta make it right. And so it's like the flavor is desperation for me, and it can be like joyful desperation. It can be sad desperation. It can be angry desperation. But that's what feels like it's the real fingerprints of it for me.
Thank you.
It sounds like it would have fear inside of it if it's one of those kinds of desperation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that fits with me as the child maker over here, is this desperation that they be okay.
And if they're not okay,
Well, for me in this, then I suck as a mother. Like I failed as a mother. Even though I've graduated as a mother.
Gosh.
What was happening for you, Dawei?
So we got through 3 examples. The first 2 were kind of similar. It was like as this thing of like, do you want to go to Stewart's? And a total, I can feel the rescuer part of child making, which was totally steering the conversation away from something more dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, yeah, using fear to like stay very far in the bounds.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if, well, I hope that somehow we get to it, either here or in another work talk. But like, what is the way to make an offer that's not like, do you want to go to Stewart's? Which is this totally like, let's be safe in the sandbox together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tried to switch it up and went into this more like persecutey child making, which I'm not convinced was actually child making. It might have still been pig making, but it could switch into child making really quickly. I like said this thing of like, you didn't write this thing, you said you were going to write it. And then I was like, and you never told anyone about it. And I guess the child making would then be if I come in and like stake her like ability to have integrity on me somehow, which I didn't get to. But I noticed that last one felt so nasty to me, and like it was rather painful to go into that. And
Well, can you be clear about what was nasty in it?
It really reminded me of exercises I've done of like trying to consciously roleplay Gremlin in order to like for someone else to practice unhookability and just saying these kinds of like nasty things. That's what it felt like to me right now.
And these are real, right? So what is the actual, like if you're going to scan for the fingerprint of this nasty thing, how do you know when that's activated?
Yeah, it's like this fingerprint of like really looking down and then kind of like opening it up like you didn't write this thing, and then she says something, and then like knowing exactly how to drive the screw in of like, okay, but you just didn't tell anyone that you. She said like, I changed my mind. I was like, okay, but you just didn't tell anyone. And like that type of gremlin thing of knowing exactly how to drive this screw in.
It's like that, I caught you. Ha.
It's like being on that next level. Like, okay, whatever. I don't care that you changed your mind. You didn't tell anyone.
Yeah. That's
Like
There's also one step ahead. You're
Yeah,
one step ahead. I have
Mhm.
bring it on. We can go down this road.
Yes, that thing
Wow.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so I still don't know if that's child making or
It seems like something else making and also really valuable.
but
Yeah.
but it does have an effect of like putting her totally in her child ego state.
Yeah, and I like from an experienced parent side of things, this is often what parents do. They kind of make themselves a victim to their child's lack of integrity, and then it becomes this parenting that's in the name of like helping their child become more accountable, become more improve, it's still this you're not okay, and it's up to me to make you become okay, or something like that. That it's kind of parenting from a more of a superior gremlin, and it does, like my experience is it has the consequence of the child staying a child, not actually, unless they start to really pressure themselves.
Yeah, because they would only respond to that from needing to control the parent's reaction in the future, rather than from blossoming or something into a more integrity person, higher integrity person.
But there's another just like way of child making that I think is far subtler than this, which is somehow creating a context where my partner would not source archetypal offers because I somehow just make her so helpless or something like that. That doesn't require this like parenting. It's closer to the first two that I did with Ethna, which are just like keeping everything so fluffy and fun.
How does it go?
I think it would be like really subtle violations or subtle tearing down the foundation of a partner who's trying to become archetypal. So I think one way I do it with Meredith is like when we're snuggling or something, sometimes she'll be like, don't want your hand like on my stomach or something. And I'll just be like, oh, like, and I'll do it anyway. And it's this very subtle way of like, I mean, I think it is the same thing ultimately. It's like I'm being a parent, ignoring her, whatever, I don't care. But it's like this really subtle undermining, baking in this undermining into the relating of, you don't know it. You don't know what you're talking about. Isn't that cute that you don't want me to snuggle you in a certain way?
Yeah. Boy, there's a kind of adjacent to that. There's one that I've noticed that's something like, gosh, I don't even know how to say this. It's being, okay, I'll say it like this and then I have to expand. It's like being unimpressed. So being, ways that I've experienced are something like, if I did something that's really beyond my limits, then a person who would be child making with me would be, instead of celebrating, saying, it's something like, oh, good job. And there's a way where it's like inauthentic and by unimpressed, I mean that there's something else going on, where it's not that they would need to be impressive and make a show, but there's the purpose of them saying good job is not about celebration. It's somehow about the child making. And it can be so subtle because it can come out. Okay, I'll just say one that I experienced, which was writing a particular article, and then my partner wrote to me, these are really, you really get some really good basic distinctions in here. And there's something where it's like, it's very subtle, but I can feel the energy of it, that it's actually, it completely undermines the action itself, this kind of comment.
Because of what?
Because of the purpose.
Which
because,
was?
It's to, hold on, let me see here. It's to, do you have something about this? Like, I'm struggling with it, but I can feel it.
It's placating, it's condescending, it's maintaining the status quo. Because if you truly celebrate someone or your partner's evolution, expansion, then you have to acknowledge that they're evolving, expanding. If you placate or condescend, it's saying like, it's maintaining that status quo. It's maintaining the child-maker relationship. And it's a way to skirt around real celebration of evolution and to like stifle your partner. in
Yeah,
a way.
it's exactly that, and it's so subtle
Mhm.
because you can point at it, and even here, it's like articulating. It's tough because I think it's that subtle. I think it's that.
Yeah.
subtle.
Something about withholding a real acknowledgement
Yeah.
in reality.
Yeah, it's
And-
out of touch with reality.
And I can see how like I belittle myself and make my accolades smaller. And then when a partner or another person is doing that with me, it's child's making. Or I'm not even making myself small. But I get that how it can be so subtle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, can you say how you do it? I just wanted to hear that because you said you belittle yourself, and then someone basically agrees with you about it not being as big a deal as it is.
That's definitely possible. That was a different example. But I
Okay.
think that also works of like, gosh, I really didn't, I forgot to add this thing, I forgot to add this thing in my talk. Oh, in that article, I should have said it this way. I'm like, yeah, it would have been better. Like,
Too bad. It's
or too,
like,
like, too bad. Maybe next time. Or,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I wondered why you didn't do that.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah, when I heard you say that, that really didn't make much sense to me. Like, especially something that's in the past that it's like, yeah, just put more dirt on top of me. That kind of game. And also to be like, oh, it wasn't so bad. You did great. Could also be child's making.
Yeah.
yeah.
What I got from Devin's example is it's this kind of comments about the content in a way, and it's so superior in terms of like, yeah, I see all of these distinctions too, so good job for the content.
Doing everything everyone already knows.
Yes, or at least doing something that I know about.
Ah.
And there's other ways to deliver such an acknowledgement, which would be like, you are really brilliant at weaving distinctions into your writing, which is more about Devin, but yeah, it's clear to me that this content thing would make it, keeping it in the realm of knowledge.
Hmm. So interesting. I never thought about this in this way.
Yeah, and with this, I'd like to switch and go the other direction.
right.
And also, it doesn't contain anything about like, I got something from that article, like I learned something from that.
And this
It would
is
be like if after this work talk I went to Meredith and I said, you put some really great low drama distinctions in that work talk. Just yeah, versus wow, I really got something from that, or you're a brilliant space holder. Totally different.
Yeah.
And this connects back to the withholding real acknowledgement of it, of like actual connection to reality.
I want to keep opening this.
Yeah. Go.
Because I mean,
having so many life
I'm-
events flash.
Go ahead, go.
I don't know. I mean, there's just I want to learn how to practice this. I want to learn how to do it.
Practice what?
Practice both, like speaking in a way that deflates someone, so I can get how I do that. But more than that, just not trying something else, because it's so, it's so damaging. It's truly disempowering. I think that's the purpose. Is it disempowering, maintains like this kind of hierarchical dynamic, but it's so subtle. I don't know. I bet I do that, and I don't know how I do that. So I would like to know. That's what is coming from me.
Great.
That's all.
I propose that you practice doing just that for 5 minutes with your partner. So partner B, you will be speaking child making partner A. Partner A, you will be listening and keeping a metacognitive aware when you snap in. Partner B, you're also keeping aware on that flavor of the child making as you're doing it.
Okay.
Okay, begin.
That way you're gonna
I
be
don't know
rather
what you
even.
would do.
This
Maybe
is the
just
one that I
show
challenge
me
most
something
of.
you've written, something like that, and I can try.
Even, have you got
Try
my
some.
grace?
I'm already snapped.
Wow.
I was
Okay.
already snapped just from the look.
Okay.
Or tell me something you're celebrating. Doesn't have to be you.
Have you called the dentist yet? Are you?
want me to be Nicole or do you
I-
want me to
You could be Nicole.
Amen.
You could be
Amen.
someone.
You
Just
have
someone.
2 years.
I just
until you're
want to
off
try
health
this.
insurance. You gotta get this shit.
I just want to see what comes out
My
when
teeth are
I'm
fine.
doing
No,
this
they're not.
thing.
You're really fucked up.
Yeah.
And you
So
know,
just be someone
you've been
trying to
procrastinating this for like
celebrate
2 years. Amen. This time is gonna pass so fast, and you're gonna fall off health insurance and be stuck with this metal in your mouth.
Didn't
So like,
you read the article that I
I'm
wrote?
pretty snapped. So I
That
okay.
at the
yeah, I
end
don't know
I
how much
put
to
in the-
resist the snapping.
in the
I
magic
think snap like in the
um,
first second.
Okay,
just from her
next.
facial expression.
Okay.
Okay, I'm
So your
already-
facial
I'm
expression,
already
do
in
something
it.
different.
I'm already snapped into child.
And the
Like,
whole
did
energy.
you see
yeah,
it?
It's
Okay.
like very clear on her.
About the
Okay, so to maybe try someone else that you're
asking
relating
someone
with.
to leave,
Okay, yeah.
when to ask
Because
someone to
yeah, I
leave.
think you've got it, right?
Or
Like start
unless,
with-
unless there's
I
other
did.
ways,
I
other
did. I
big,
haven't read
big
it in
changes
a
in
little,
flavor.
a couple of weeks,
Let's
but
see
I
if I
read
can
it when it
pull up
first
another
came
big
out,
change.
and I thought it
Big
was
change.
really brilliant.
So we're
I
sitting
think
on
I
a
said-
couch.
I wonder if what I said to
It's
you.
the
was
one day we
actually-
have to
But I
see
think
each
I
other
said
in
to you that
6 months.
the mimetic writing in it worked really, really well.
Do you want to watch Lord of the Rings with me?
It worked
Yeah.
for me.
Okay, cool. Do you want to do the extended edition?
Yeah, I appreciate
Of course.
what you're saying.
Hell
And then I was
yeah,
reading
okay.
it.
I'll pop it
This
in. You know, we
morning,
can do the next
I
12
was
hours.
like-
Let's
Where's the
fucking
do you
go.
have popcorn?
Oh, we can make
I was
popcorn.
actually
Okay.
You totally know what's
Thinking
making
Okay,
happen.
switch.
Was I
Oh,
snapped?
really?
Were you?
yeah.
Huh.
I wasn't sure. Not
I
as,
wonder
not
if
as
you're
hard
in
as
your-
not as hard as the other one.
Swamp
Okay.
about that.
All right, then keep going.
I thought it was great.
Yeah,
Like,
I
I
mean,
read it and I'm
you know,
just
Mom's
so
got, she's got
okay, I'm
coconut
just gonna
oil,
be
she's
me
got
and see
popcorn.
how it- Like, I
Let's
just
make
feel like
it.
the
Let's
value
go.
is so
Let's make a
obvious.
party happen.
And I've
Okay,
read a
awesome.
lot of things that
Yeah.
you've written, and
Okay.
for me this was one of
So
the
we can do it on
first
that
ones
night.
where I was like,
So I propose you switch into a
it seemed
different
like
person
Nicole
because
was
you've got how it
gone,
feels, and now do
and what
someone
was
where
in
it
its
might be a
place
little
was
bit more
just this
subtle.
clarity
Okay.
coming through the article, and so so it really it just I want to say that I hear that it didn't you're
gonna be
having doubts about its goodness, and I think it's
Wow.
effective. I found it very effective. I'm sure other people would too.
I just want to check the qualities. I need a child here.
I'm
just like-
I'm noticing how
Are you serious?
there's this. It's almost
Take your
like
fucking
there's
phone
this
out. And then into the
I-
cafe.
But I have
bobber
to check
on the
something.
surface of something,
And into
and
the
it'll
cafe.
go down into like
Yeah,
smallness, and
I'm
Okay,
putting
so
it
you're
away.
snapped.
Yeah,
and,
but
and
like-
that, but then I'm
Before you were-
noticing
What
it,
was
and
so
I'm like,
important?
okay,
that
there's
this space
way I
can
can
be
be with
violent
this, where I
tonight.
don't do that, and
This
then I'm kind
special
of tracking
space we only get
myself
during
kind of
labs.
doing
Okay, I
this,
think
like,
you're snapped.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was so
Okay,
important?
so try a different
Try-
one.
I had a message,
Okay.
a really important message.
Uh-huh.
Who do a child make?
Yeah, okay.
Animals, I do.
Okay,
I don't have to
whatever.
make an animal, but
I'll leave you to it.
I could actually
Yeah,
find
Uh-huh.
like
uh-huh.
cute little pig that lives out
Okay.
there.
Oh, I don't. The pigs don't do it for me.
Not,
It could be
I'm
the
not
chicken
sure.
stuff.
I'm not sure if I was snapped
Please
or if
don't
I
do
was
it
just
for
so wide.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
bok choy.
Bok
Let me
choy.
see if I can
Oh.
get someone else who I really.
God, what a strong
Like a
bird. What a
child.
mighty bird. I feel like that
My
bird
demo.
was born to fly.
Um,
Even being a chicken, it doesn't need to. Look at those wings.
Something's happening where
It's like
just like
it's not a specific person, but it's like a lot of people are like,
Yeah,
article
it's
was
just
really
like-
good.
Okay.
it's just like
Like a
like
PM
keep
person.
Like just a
going,
PM person,
keep
right?
going.
Kind of
Yeah,
shitty
I hate it how the other
Your
birds
article,
pick
it was
on
really good.
or when they've
I
picked
really
on you
liked that
or
part where
peck at
you
you. I hate that.
where you talked
I
about
hate that.
centering. It was
Because
really, really
you have
good.
so much dignity.
It was
You have
yeah,
so
it
much
just felt like
dignity,
you
and I see you
know really
being
important and really
small
kind of like held
as a
held the
bird.
piece
I
together.
hate that.
You should write
Okay,
more. I
I'm
really
pretty-
like
I'm
this.
pretty snapped and
Yeah,
interested.
something about the bobber like went
Like-
down just there when you were like.
Yeah, it's like this, like,
you'd be
partially my
small,
heart
and
was
it's almost
leaping,
like
and partially it was
somehow
like,
that,
pretty sure she's
reminds
bullshitting
me
me
of
because
my
I've done this kind of
smallness.
bullshitting to other people.
and then you're,
I don't really
but
know.
then you say
I
you hate
definitely,
it, and it's
I know
kinda
that I
like,
just didn't
okay,
feel like an
well,
adult at all.
Mhm.
but it's
Like-
still kind of like, oh, now I'm
This is
Now I'm big again, going big again to please you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
this type of thing.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot of my
you
child
come up
making
again
people
to-
are talking
to
about
make
their
me happy
projects
or
that I'm not really
something.
interested in, and I go like,
Yeah,
oh,
and
that's
then
really
that's the
cool.
kind of
Uh-huh.
maintains
Wow,
you
it's really
as
cool that you're
superior
doing that. Will you tell me?
even though
Will
I
you tell me
Yeah.
more about
in
it, and then
direction.
kind of just
What I
check
feel
out
is like
where you-
I'm the dole.
wow, that's really cool that
doling
you're doing
out
that
for
that way.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and yet there was part
well,
of how
let's-
you were doing
tell me
it
more.
that was not making my smallness
Okay.
kind of
Yeah.
kick in.
Okay, let's get in one more example.
Okay, I
And
think I
then-
was snapped there also.
Oh, it's-
Okay, and this last one is there someone, a different kind of relating that
Oh, I used to do this with Cam.
Explore.
Okay.
Um,
This is something with Mustafa.
um,
And like,
I'll be Kay.
yeah.
and these are all the really cool things that I'm doing.
Yeah,
and
what
my
if you
life is
just
so
let your
exciting.
heart speak?
And
Your heart
Oh,
is so
actually,
much
yeah, so like, I
beautiful-
know you don't know
I
the
can hear
distinction
how
of
my
radical
voice changes
responsibility. So
because
let me tell
my
you
heart has
what it really means
beautiful
to be
stuff
radically
to say.
responsible. So it's all
And
about
there
the
are people
context
here in this
of the world
community
that
that
you live
love
in.
you so,
And
so
like,
much.
it's okay if you don't get it. I know it's really confusing for people that are
Do you know
not in this world. Like, it's okay. It's okay. But
Do I know?
there's all these different distinctions. So there's 600
Okay,
websites.
and
There's so many things
time.
to learn about. So don't rush. Take all the time you need.
Is that, have you actually talked to Mustafa?
No, that's an
No.
exaggeration of it.
Okay.
It's
Okay, so how do you really do it? How does it really?
Yeah,
no,
how-
it's
That's
not.
all. Yeah.
How does it really go? I want to. Let's.
Start with Nicole.
Yeah.
Well, she just said, "Oh, wow," and I want to know what it was.
Wow. Yeah, it was this way of like this kind of placating, like you're bigger than you realize. And it just kind of keeps me there. Yeah, I'm bigger than I realize. You're right. You're right about me.
You're
And
right
it
about
doesn't
me.
change it. It keeps me there.
You're right about me. So like being seen, in a way, like.
Yeah, but it's a kind of, it's like being seen through a prism where it's like still they're superior. They know who you are. And yes, you are that, but because they're the ones who are the authority about it, I'm down here.
Okay, so there's something about authority in there too, and the superiority is back. It's really like where it's coming from.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of coaching that happens that's like this. Like,
Yeah.
I had a one-on-one
Yeah.
coach and it felt so great. I paid him a lot of money. And I think like it was more than this. I think there was more to it than this. But part of it was that kind of being seen in a way and being told who I am in a way. And it's wild because I had that. It's not transformational. It feels good. It feels really good to a part of me. But I don't become that thing more that they're seeing.
How'd it go for you, Afna?
Yeah, the very last one, that's not how I speak to him, but that's what kind of happens. I've noticed this kind of thing happen in some, especially talking about possibility management with people that are not in the context. I'll say something and then be like, but I know it's really hard to get, like, because you're not in that world. I know it's really hard to get. It's okay if you don't understand. Please ask questions. It's like this, like, overly caretaking for people of like, I know it's really confusing. I know it's hard to get, but just like bear with me, and if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
And where does that come from in you?
It's like this place of, it's both a superiority of like, I know so much, and you could ask me any question, I could give you a good answer. And it's also like this is a child with like, the shadow layer of it is like, this is a child, they have no cognition whatsoever, I need to explain this in the most basic words, and I still don't think you're getting it.
Because you know so much.
Because I know so much, yeah.
Interesting.
And yeah, so that comes up in more subtle ways. I was kind of exaggerating it, but it comes up in very subtle ways like that. Of like, oh, let me break it down into the smallest possible words because you're a child and I'm so much smarter than you, or something like that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Another thing that came up was it's very easy for me to child make when I step into the role of like the big sister. Like it was so easy that I snapped myself in it immediately. Like, did not even realize how much of I hadn't really even like checked the energetic fingerprints of that particular role, but it's so easy to just be like, I know best. I'm the oldest sister.
I know so much. I know best.
Yeah. Because even like in the way that I talk about my sister and brother, even to this day, it's like it's my little sister, my little brother. Like they're both in their 20s, you know, and they're still little. I'm still the big sister.
Sounds Sounds like a big sister graduation.
Wow.
Is in order.
That could be big sister graduation.
So there's something you were saying, Ethna, that I realized that you were saying this thing about language, adjusting the language because they're so this or they're so that. That you would actually, it's really being adaptive.
Mm-hmm.
You would be being adaptive to whatever you're projecting onto them.
Their inferior knowledge.
Yeah.
I want to hear how it was to be the younger sibling.
Through both as younger sibling and as all of the other role plays, I was being snapped very, very quickly. And it just reminded me of this exercise of different types of offers. So like child level offer, gremlin offer, archetypal offer. And it was, I was getting a child offer and I was just sliding right into it so quickly. Like even just the energy, even just the facial expression. I was snapped like first microsecond.
Okay. I think that child making is one character of these roles. And I wanna talk about the other roles, the other ways that this can go. Because I get the sense that, especially when Dawa, you were sharing that you were slipping into a different role. It wasn't quite child making, but it was something else. So let's go there. So looking at this from the perspective of being the maker, and in this first example, the child maker, thinking about low drama, and being the child maker, what position are you in as a child maker? Being the child maker.
Totally a rescuer.
Okay.
It totally assumes that the child has no agency to actually do things for themselves.
Okay, there's an assumption, you're saying there's an assumption of...
Like incompetency.
Okay.
They either have to placate or address.
To placate or...
Or fix.
something, there's something to fix.
Yeah.
Like I need to fix you. I need to...
You need to go to the dentist. Yeah. And I need to make sure you go to the dentist.
Okay, I need to save you.
And there's also this like, I need to grow you up. Like I need to do things that you will become more competent, you will become more knowledgeable, you will grow up.
Grow you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, as if they won't grow up on their own without my superior blah blah blah.
Okay, so there's superiority.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's also something, I'm thinking about the placating thing. There's also some way in which the child maker like fixes the child so that they always remain a child. Like there's some way in which these things that I need to save you, I need to grow you up, I'm superior to you, also serves to glue the child and keep the child as a child.
How do you glue them as a child? What is the action?
Well, one thing is that if you can get them, the child's addicted to something, and it's basically approval. So if you become a endless or not endless, if you become a wall in a way for approval, and they would have to do something in order to get that approval, that would fix them in that identity of being a child. So if they would have to be helpless in order to get your approval, for instance, or if they would have to, what's the other one that's really common? Like if they'd have to have low self-worth in order to get you to say, you're great, you're amazing.
Okay, so on the other side, it's low self-worth. Is happening for the child. The child has to have low self-worth.
Maybe in some cases. in order for them to, it's a what do you call it? It's an exchange. There's a reciprocity. It's a reciprocal relationship. So in exchange for in exchange for approval, they give whatever. They remain a child. I don't know.
You said something about creating a wall.
Yeah.
And so this is like, you have all the standards by which they need to meet in order to be something. Is that what you mean by wall?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So it's like you create the measure by which they can either meet or fail. And does it change if they meet or fail? Like, okay, here's this thing. Okay, they met, like you're saying with your writing example, they met you. They met your measure, your mark.
I'm not quite sure what you're asking. Could you say it again?
So what I'm hearing you say is, as a child maker, you're setting the standards for what dictates good, bad, some kind of, you've met this for approval. And sometimes the one you're making a child might meet that.
Right. Yes.
And so are they still a child when they meet your expectations?
I think so.
And what if they don't? They're still a child.
Well, then you would have to basically live in a kind of denial. I mean, I think we do it with animals all the time, where it's like, you look at a baby animal, and I think there are all these ways that, like these markers that people have of, that means it's an infant, that means, it's cute that it fell over, those kinds of things. But I don't think the animal has any sense of being a helpless victim. I don't think that's what's going on inside it. So I think even absent a child, a thing that's being made a child, like even absent that identity, it's still possible for a person to just be in denial and keep making the thing a child.
So you can be making someone a child without them submitting to it.
Yeah.
Yes, I think totally.
Okay.
Excellent example of that. My brother, so I've been on him for like the past year and a half to go to the dentist because he needs like orthodontic surgery. And I've been like calling him, texting him periodically every few months. Have you scheduled this appointment? Have you got this appointment? No. And then I go home for Thanksgiving, and suddenly out of nowhere he goes, oh yeah, and by the way, I'm getting this orthodontic surgery next week.
No way.
And I had not been in communication about him with this for months, and I was like jarred, like, oh fuck, you can do that? You can do that by yourself without me like pushing you or someone pushing you into that? And there was like this moment where my child making story was like confronted by the reality of he's an adult and can do this himself. And then it was immediately like, so there's like the opportunity of that gap, but then the child making kind of apparatus just jumped over. Well, he has all these other things he has to get done, and he needs me to pressure him into this stuff. And so like there's I totally think that you can child make even when the person refuses to be a child.
Okay, because you can just find the next thing.
Yeah, because there's always a next thing.
There's always a next thing. So part of the research is the other roles too. And did you have one more thing?
Yeah, I don't think this one really captures that, the really subtle versions of someone, of say like not properly celebrating, because this is a little more like active rescuer, and there's the version that's like really subtly undermining, and often the undermining happens with fluffy joy, or things that don't feel bad. Quote unquote bad.
Yeah.
Fluffy? You said fluffy joy?
Yeah.
Patronizing.
It's sort of the like relating version of neurotic speaking or neurotic listening.
Wow.
Okay, can you keep going?
Yeah, it's like if Meredith has something important to tell me in the morning, sometimes she'll be talking to me and it's important, and I'll go up and I'll like hug her or something. And so it's a neurotic relating, because it's totally in some ways blocking. I mean, often I am listening, but it's totally washing it over with some kind of like, good morning, I love you, and would have the consequence of keeping her totally from stepping into something more archetypal.
Wow.
Washing over connection with like pleasantries.
My own child ego state, yeah, pleasantries. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Exactly, I know
Yes.
exactly what
Okay.
you're talking about. And I know what it like when that happens. I coach myself. It's like I feel the anger. It's like and then it's like, oh, but this is so sweet. Oh, he loves me. Oh, he wants to give me a hug. And it's like I completely push down the anger to be like, okay, yeah, okay, but what I really want to say, and like try to jump back in.
Is that also a way of child making him? When you're saying that, I mean, it reminded me of the sound of what you were saying before.
Mhm.
Oh,
He's so
oh.
cute.
It's more I'm speaking to myself. So it's like I'm child making myself to fit into this role.
But I think it's dual child making. I think it both boils down to the same thing. It reminds me of the thing from Beyond Repair, or one of the study group calls, where Clinton said something like, for a woman, like, you can just go up to a man and say, like, I don't have any of your attention. Do you remember this part where he basically was coaching somebody to that, yes, you can sort of shred this man to pieces because it's really true that half his attention is on the last porno video that he was watching and half of is on something else, and so when you say something like, no, I have zero attention, I have zero of your attention because you're a complete boy right now, it is really true. And that kind of sword would be an archetypal sword that says actually what's going on. And so Meredith child makes me in that moment by not expecting anything different. Where she could totally archetypal man make me by saying, what the fuck do you think you're doing? You know exactly that I am trying to tell you something important, and you're trying to snuggle up to me and give me a hug. Get that crap out of here. I'm not here for that in this relating.
Thank you. And I feel glad that we have our first clue towards something else. So we'll save this space for that. Keep them coming.
And then I get just into this corner where, like, last week we had a moment where Meredith came in asking about the pigs, and I had like this reaction of like, I think she's in her child ego state. I don't want this right now, and it just turned into kind of a mess where, yeah. So, and then I was like, oh crap, that was like maybe something from the past. Like, it was kind of a flare up of my old parent ego state where I would be like, oh, why isn't Meredith more clear with her things? And at the same time, it was very close where I was like, at the same time, I want to take a stand that I don't want that.
So you're saying that this has a very fine line between parent ego state for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and getting back into this question of feedback being about something else. Okay. Any last things about child making? Being the child maker.
There was something about there's this way of praising or kind of punishing, and then there's this meeting the person in between, where there's a way that, like, the placating praise is child making, and the way that there's also a kind of child making that maybe comes from the other end of the low drama triangle, where it's like, you know, why aren't you doing this?
Yeah, the why aren't you doing this is coming from the persecuting. It's like the finger pointing.
And there's also something in it that's still got this, it's my job to grow them up. but it's applying pressure instead of praise or.
Yeah, instead of like, oh, you just don't get it. It's like, you fucking idiot.
You idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in this role as a persecutor, blocking the relating by pig making. You idiot. How else does it go? Something that's like, it's your fault. Something that happens like, it's your fault. You did this.
Oh, you
You're
should know better.
You idiot. You should know better.
Yeah.
I think about how quickly I switch between these, and like I have a brother who like he can't take care of himself. Is kind of like this like, oh you poor thing, you can't take care of yourself. And then I get to a point where I'm like, you're a mess. You're a man and you're a mess. And why haven't you figured this out yet? And it's really like, and then I'm it's this cataloging thing of I can retrace in my head, you leave this on the counter, you can't pick up your clothes, you can't, and it's like really this energy of keeping tabs, like keeping a track of all of the
Petty offenses.
petty offenses. What do you do when you're pig making? When you're persecuting the other person?
I do this thing where like I will like internally start like rolling my eyes every time they start speaking, like, oh, here we fucking go again, great. And it's just like this total disregard for what they have to say. Like, you're a pig, you're a fucking idiot. Okay, here we go again.
There's kind of resolve that you're speaking with, like, like
it is. It's total is glue. There's no room for
It's conclusion glue.
conclusion glue.
Like, there's no universe where this person is not an idiot. That I just have to like, oh, are you fucking kidding me? Like it's a total conclusion. End of the book.
End of the, okay.
No sequel.
You should know better. I know better. This is how it is.
Yeah. I look for their inauthenticity or their hypocrisy. Like these are ways that I'll start scanning them for ways that they're inauthentic, hypocrites, lying. Basically scanning for their underworld, but with the purpose of being disgusted with them.
Disgust comes up. I'm getting this like this feeling of disgust.
Yeah.
I'll just put it in here.
Yeah, you make me sick.
You make me sick.
It is. Like, as I kind of go through the roster of all the ways that I pig make in my life, it does have this like energetic fingerprint of like, ugh, like that's the noise that happens inside of me.
What is the feeling, what is that with child making? There's like this
It's hard
disgust.
to, yeah, how do I feel towards making a child?
Like pathetic.
I feel this sickly love. Love, but
sickly quality.
Sickly love. We can come up with
I mean,
better
there's probably better
term later, but sickly love is kind of this.
Yeah, there was something about desperation too on both sides of that, where the child maker is like desperate for the child to be fixed, be saved, and then the child also starts having this desperation too. It's like desperation meets desperation, whereas maybe on the pig making side, it's like disgust meets disgust.
And so the last victim position can be a victim in relating with a rescuer or a victim relating with a persecutor. So there are actually two different relating positions in this one.
Uh-huh.
So starting with the victim as relating to a rescuer. I've been calling this night making.
Mm. Yeah,
The night maker.
and shining armor.
Of like really needing someone to save me.
It's a bit, well, it's gendered, whereas the other two are not. I think.
It could be a hero maker.
Okay.
Or
I do think
savior.
there's like a
Savior
mommy
maker.
daddy maker.
this is mommy daddy maker.
I'm not saying it is. I'm saying it could be. Though that's the sense I get of it.
Okay.
But there's probably a lot.
You think maybe it's like a good parent maker, and on the other side it's a bad parent maker.
Yeah.
Mommy daddy hero night maker. What happens when you're a mommy daddy hero night maker?
You get to get rescued.
Okay, but you get rescued, yes.
Yeah. And you
How do you make it so that you get rescued? Like, how are you making them into this person? What do you do so that they rescue you?
Like I match what I need, what I want to what they can give.
You match what you need and what you want. So you're kind of moderating. You're like scanning for what they could give and what you want, and then presenting that.
Something like that. Yeah.
So this is because you want to make them the hero.
Yeah, like I'm bringing to the fore the things they can do for me and hopefully the things they want to do for me, so that we have successful child making and hero making.
So you make them successful. You bring something that they can be successful at.
I think so.
Is that getting it?
It's something like very child making about that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. It's almost got a child making underbelly to it.
This year's trying to also make them successful. I think that goes with like the scanning them.
Yeah, I see like the relationship between the child maker and the hero night maker, and then the pig maker and whatever the analog is like it's cyclical. Like that, the child maker or the child's night maker creates a situation where then the child maker becomes the child by making them successful, and it's like
How does it work?
God, I'm thinking of times in which I have like asked from a total child ego state, like, will someone give me possibilities about this? And the real ask I had was like, somebody please give me an answer. Someone tell me what to do next.
Tell me what to do.
Yeah, like tell me what to do. Someone
Yes.
just tell me what to do. And it gives the child maker or whoever responds a chance to be like, I can fix this. But in doing so, I'm already setting them up for success. Like, and so it's like, it goes like this.
I can
Because then I can
imagine
be like, thank you so much. You saved me. You gave me the answer.
graciousness.
Yeah.
Over graciousness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Over.
So on the other side, there's a maker here. And this role is when you're making the other person into the persecutor. And with this role, I was really good at this one a long time. It's like, I need to be in a role, something like, I'm so bad, you're right about me, is how it goes for me. It's like being caught up in this relating space where I can't do this, I can't do that, I'm helpless, I can't really have the life that I want. And then that kind of interacting, pulling out someone who's, well, just do something about it then. You're just always complaining, you're just doing this. You're like, it's this fix yourself kind of thing that I could pull out by being so small. It was like, it's like if I can just be such a helpless little thing and attract this kind of attention.
Uh-huh.
So over here it's like my helplessness.
Mm-hmm.
But with a certain flavor, because I guess this is helpless too.
It's like a pathetic kind of helplessness.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, fucking fix yourself is the kind of, there's an aggressive patheticness to it.
Fix myself?
Or like the pig maker would look at this person and be like, God, just fucking get your shit together.
So this role that's interacting with, well, are they a pig maker then? This role is a persecutor.
Yes.
So persecutor, how do I make them a persecutor?
I think by being pathetic, for sure.
And blaming them, like making it their, giving them the power that they made me pathetic.
By, like, you made me pathetic.
I almost get something like on the hero side, there's the rescuer isn't expecting too much, but on the pig making side, the pig maker is expecting too much. And I'm either on the childish victim is like, oh, it's understandable that I can't fix myself, and on the other side, it's like, no, it is not understandable that you can't fix yourself. You should know better. And on the child making side, rescuer side, it's like, you don't know better, and I will help you know better, or I think that's why it's more like, it can be very hard to discern from space holding, because it's this kind of empowering that's like, okay, you need empowering and I will empower you. Whereas on that side, it's like, you should already be empowered, like get your head out of your ass or something.
Yeah, I'm really stuck on what the word for this is, because it feels like it's like an abuser maker. Like you turn your partner into someone who's abusive to you. But I don't know if that was the right word, but that's kind of the energy of what I get.
I've been thinking of the word villain.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I had like monster. Like,
Yeah.
There's another word that's coming from me, like pathetic and fix me, but also being hysterical.
Yeah.
And I'm reluctant to say that word, but that's what comes, like being hysterical, because it can't be, and then pointing the finger at the other person for turning you into that.
Mm-hmm.
As part of this, you've made me so traumatized. You've made me so battered, or something like that.
It's the only way I can respond.
and there's a bit of an extreme, going to extremes. Like, I'm going to do this big action, this big hysteria, like, to prove that you've done this to me.
Yeah.
monster maker for now. Okay, I'd like to come back together. And I'm landing in this space of, wow, that's a lot. How will I ever dig my way out of this?
I want to know that.
Me too.
And I eagerly await the next part. I have to transition to my next space. So
Okay.
No.
Okay, so we won't come up with the answer.
I'll watch the recording.
Well, will you do another work talk exploring this next phase?
The next phase of getting out.
Not doing that. Doing something other than that.
Would you just turn the recording off when you're done?
Yes.
I would like that.
I would too. Me too.
Yes. The next phase of leaving this low drama. And I get how it's not focusing on these. And I see the importance of this study. And so before we close, I'd like to hear if there's any part of this that you're feeling is your study from now on. What are you really going to be, what calls to you? What are you focusing on right now?
For me, there was a lot of gold in, Ethna, what you said about like the big sister role and this possibility for a big sister graduation, with especially in regard to my son, where I have graduated as a mother, yet I still keep approaching him as a mother, and yeah, to watch for that desperation part, and yeah, I'm already getting some possibilities about like an identity shift to make out of big sister, or in my case, mom, and into something else. And how am I holding on to this being a good mother thing with him?
Yeah, that sounds like such a prison. Like needing to have been a good mother or still
Yeah,
be a
it's
good
like,
mother.
and I had my chance. It's done. All my mothering of him is done. And yet I still am trying to go back into it and it's so tricky how it sneaks in, because it's like, oh, now I'm a possibilitator and I'm a space holder, and I could save him from here.
Yeah.
And it creates the same thing.
Thank you.
It fixates him in his child ego state.
Thank you. For me, I still have this like longing for this child relating, and I think I can like coach myself out of it a lot, but there is still this piece of the longing for the safety of the relating, for it to be cozy, and this is home rather than a space of creation. Not that there isn't, but yeah. So I'm watching that.
There are two things that really stood out for me as to my next steps. The first is this big sister graduation. I have no idea what that looks like, but yeah, I want to explore what that means for me. And the second was like watching for the ways that I'm still speaking to like the lowest possible estimation of someone. Because I'm recognizing that I do this a lot, that I will like think someone won't understand what I'll say, so I'll say it in like an easier, simpler way. Like I'll speak to the lowest possible potential in someone instead of the highest possible potential. And so like just getting into a habit of noticing, or getting into a practice of noticing when I'm speaking to the lowest possible potential in someone.
Devin, is there anything standing out to you?
I had two things. One was so there's the like being the maker, and then there's being made. So something like how do I play those roles, especially the ones that are being made. How do I let the being made happen. And I think just picking one with the child, how do I do that, and how to just be a refusal to that.
And you said you want to pick a role.
Well, I think with child making. Like I think it's one I get some sort of benefit, massive benefit from being made a child, and then there's obviously the price of dignity among other things. And so how do I do that in particular with that role? I think each of the roles would be workable.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Meredith.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This was I had fun.
Me too. And I'm a yes for exploring what is the next phase. And I think exploring pig making and victim being
Pig making.
and monster maker and hero maker.
Yeah.
Will be worthy
Yeah.
exploration.
There's another term. Yeah, it's being. I don't know what the term is, but being child made or being pig made. That
Yes.
that thing.
Being a child,
Yeah.
being a pig.
Yeah, I guess that would be it. Being those things. Being a knight, being a hero.